Hello everyone, welcome to Sriram's IAS on Unacademy platform. So we are meeting for environment mains question answer discussion. Maybe there is a long gap between the first session and the second session. So in this session we'll be completing the ecosystem classification. From that part, what might be the questions which we can expect in the forthcoming UPSC exams. Already we have started that. We have done it for the terrestrial ecosystem and all. So the leftover is aquatic one. So we'll be completing that. Then we'll take over to the second part, that is biodiversity. So that then we'll be, as we have discussed in the first session, we'll be moving on to the another very important session, that is climate change and pollution related issues, and what are the conventions or what are the acts and rules and regulations which are there to safeguard against this climate problems. Okay, and then last we will be adding few sections also with respect to the sustainable development and allied sectors with the environment. Okay, so how we are going to move in this section? So what are the questions we are going to see? The first question, see, main, if you're seeing the old question paper, old paper from this particular section, that is ecosystem, especially the classification of ecosystems, you are getting very simple questions. So it will be like what is wetland, what are called Ramsar sites, types of questions are appearing. And so our questions are also framed in such a pattern only. And a few questions related to conservation also we have added based on the year-wise classification. So we will take one after the other. The first question which we are going to see is, what is wetland? Why we need wetlands? It's a very simple question, very straightforward one, right? So as we can know that how we have to frame an answer for this. First we'll say how we have to structure an answer. Then we'll say, see what are the points we can add in this particular answer to make it, to present it in a proper way. So what are the points we can give? So first first to start with, I can say that in these are very straightforward questions, as we have already discussed. And the environment sections, we are always facing straightforward questions only. So it's a very straightforward question. Same way here, two parts are there in this question. You have to give a bit much importance, as this is a very defined definition part. The first question is definition part. Second question should be a bit elaborate. So accordingly you have to split the pages, and then you have to answer the question. So what is wetland? Then how you will answer for this question? Either you have to memorize the definition which is given by Ramsar convention. It's very important, you can memorize and keep, or else you can also write your own answers. We all know that wetland means a land submerged under water, always saturated by water at least. Either it should be submerged or saturated with water. So those kind of land only we call as a wetland. So at least few months of the year, the water will be above the surface of the soil and makes it a wetland. Okay, so those types of wetland only we are calling as wetland. So how will you define it? As I already told, we can use a Ramsar convention, or you can also define on your own, right? So in that case, I can say wetlands are areas where the water acts as a primary factor. That's a main deciding factor is water only in that land. Okay, so it controls the environment. Water controls the environment. That is called as wetland. So the name itself says wetland, and so that's why we have said that it should be saturated. Okay, with the water, the land or soil should be saturated with the water, and those types of specific unique communities of plants and animals used to thrive in this wetland, right? So that we have given in this definition. You can also see that the water table is at or near the surface of land, or the land is covered by water. Okay, so these are all called as wetlands, and otherwise you can define it in a proper way. If you know it, like it is defined as areas like of marshes, fens, peatlands, anything it can be. Okay, so as you know, marshland means you will find trees or grasses. Swampland, swamps means you'll find trees. Marshlands means you'll find grasses dominating that area which is submerged in water, and also fens and peatlands. Peatlands, very uniquely it is required for fuels. Peatlands, as the dead, plants and animals accumulate layer after layer, and again, like water will be there. So here it combines and then becomes a fossil fuels also. So these kind of land are also called as wetland only. So that's why we are saying all these, whether it can be a natural one or it can be an artificial one, that is man-made one, or it can be permanently flooded, or it can be I already told temporarily flooded. So sometimes few years, few months of months in a year, the water will be above the surface, otherwise it is saturated with water. So, and even the water can be flowing in nature, that is a river can also be called as a wetland, or it can be static in nature, or it can be the water quality, it can be fresh, brackish, salt, anything it can be. Even marine areas are also included inside wetland. So this way you can define the wetland. So that's the first part. When you're answering a question, you have to define the wetland. Then why we need wetlands? That's then comes the importance. You have to elaborate about the importance of having a wetland in a particular area. So what are the importance you are thinking from the perspective? From your perspective, you can just think over and then write. You need not memorize everything. Like in the environment, you have enormous ecosystems, and every ecosystem has its unique function. Already, if you have gone through the old UPSC question, definitely would have come across this word called wetland, and preliminary area also. You would have faced a lot of questions from wetland. Even if you are lifting out those questions, then framing it as an answer, even you can answer in a very nice manner. So why we need wetlands means the first thing which comes into our mind is wetlands act as kidneys of ocean interface. Okay, kidneys. Why we are saying them as kidneys? What is the function a kidney is performing in our body? Kidney is trying to filter the unwanted things in our body. Okay, so from in the blood it is trying to purify everything, right, in our body, purifying the blood. But same way the wetland is also trying to purify the polluted water. Okay, so like the sediments, trying to trap the sediments, trying to filter the pollutants, heavy metals, all these can be filtered by a wetland. So we can say them as the kidneys of ocean interface. This one first should come in your mind if you're trying to write about the benefit of wetland or importance of wetland. The first thing which you have to come in your mind is this only. It acts as kidneys of ocean interface, right? Second important thing which I can say is it can act as a flood control land. Okay, flood control, because most of all this wetland is located, even a river can be a wetland, and it is a body, a lake or a small water bodies which are located near a river. So when a river is flooded, what happens, and the most water which come out from the river beds. Okay, so it gets go and accumulated in the nearby wetland, or the through the ground it is getting recharged and it is filled in the wetland. So this way it is trying to control the flood to some extent. And when there is a dry season, it is also trying to recharge the groundwater. Okay, so in this way wetland is playing its role, not only to control when the water is in excess, when water is not available to the people, it can also provide water by recharging the groundwater. In this way, this is the second important function you can say. Third important thing is that economic benefit. This we cannot forget. Economic benefit provided by, lot of economic benefits is provided by wetlands, as we all know. Starting from the food and even the fishing. It's a good fishing spot for people. Okay, and tourism, recreational activities. Even the trees which are growing in the wetland is used as a timber. Okay, this way people can utilize the wetland in various manner. Okay, for their livelihood purposes. So we are saying this is a we are saying that wetlands are providing economic benefits to the people. Apart from that, soil, it reduces soil erosion. Okay, it reduces soil erosion and helps in soil stabilization. So this is also another important function of wetland. So in this way you can mention that soil erosion, soil stabilization. So it is trying to reduce, because it is located as in the coastal areas you would have seen. So this wetlands are the bodies which are located there, along with, if it's a swampland, there are trees which acts as a natural barrier for the floods which happens near the ocean areas, near the coastal areas, sorry, near the coastal areas. So what happens, they act as a natural barrier. In that way, the coastal erosion can be reduced. Okay, so soil erosion can be reduced due to the wetland. Also, it helps in soil stabilization. Okay, soil is not taken away by the ocean, so waves. So in this way, it is acting as a natural barrier. These are some important functions. Other than that, you can also note this, it is acting, it's fighting against the climate change, because this wetland, it is noticed that it is trying to absorb 30% more carbon dioxide than a forest. Okay, so 30% more carbon dioxide is trapped and stored by a wetland than a forest area. So in this way, when we are trying, it is acting as a carbon sequestration. So this is also another important function you can mention, carbon sequestration. Okay, then this we all know. It's acting as a niche, that's living space for many species. Okay, habitat. It is providing habitat for different kind of unique type of organisms. Even those which cannot be found on land and which cannot be found in water is found in this particular wetland. So that's why we say this is biodiversity rich area. Okay, so biodiverse organisms can be found here and acting as a niche. And it's also acting as a storehouse of plant genetic materials. This is also another function, if you want you can take. So lot of cultivations also can be done in the wetland areas, and the wild varieties of rices are also growing there, different kinds of plants. So the plant genetic material storehouse, it is acting like a storehouse of genetic material, right? Then recycling the nutrients, it is trying to recycle the nutrient. We know nutrient cycles, we have learned. So wetland is also an important area where nutrient recycling is happening, right? This way, these are some of the benefits which we can see based on the wetland. So it's a very direct question, and we asked what is wetland and why we need wetland. So it's more than sufficient to answer. Like, start with the definition, then we are saying some of the benefits which we can reap due to wetlands are, and then you can give point wise, you can answer, and then you can complete your question. Okay, so come to the next question. What is Ramsar Convention and Ramsar sites? What is called as Ramsar Convention and Ramsar site? Can you list out any 5 Ramsar sites from India? What is this Monterey card, which is mentioned in the list of wetlands of international importance? So this is another second question. This is also from the wetland only, since wetland is very important part in your aquatic ecosystem. I focused on wetland much. So the second question, that's it. Then we'll move to the next section. So what is Ramsar Convention and what is Ramsar site? So we all know that is an international treaty, one and only international treaty to safeguard the wetland is Ramsar Convention. So when it entered into force, so that how you have to start this is that it's an intergovernmental treaty, right? So that word has to be definitely there. It's an intergovernmental treaty. Okay, so which provides the base, I can say that mainly it was taking into two angle. One is conservation, one you have to protect the wetland. Second, you have to use, you cannot say no, you cannot use the wetland, only I'm going to conserve it. Okay, so there is no way that people can utilize the benefit from the wetland. In this way we cannot say, because wetlands are very important for the sustenance of people. So this convention is looking into two perspective of maintaining the wetland or managing the wetland. What are those things? One is to conserve, second is to wise use. Okay, so this two has to be there. Even one time in UPSC, in the main section, they asked what is meant by wise use of wetland, which is mentioned in Ramsar Convention. Ramsar Convention is saying that wise use of wetland. What is meant by that? This way the question was framed. So the convention looks into two things. One is conservation, second is wise use of wetland. So this convention was proposed or adopted, I can say in the other word, in the year 1971, but it came into force in 1975. And it stands on 3 pillars. So when you write answer, this has to be focused. They have asked what is Ramsar Convention. So you have to say this is a one and only intergovernmental convention which is existing in the world to safeguard the most unique ecosystem called wetland. Okay, and this convention was adopted in the year 1971 and came into force into 1975. This much is enough. इतना काफी है introduction से. Then what you have to give in the body, that is main area, core area, means that this convention stands in two main principles. One is to conserve the wetland, second is to wise use. That means it supports or it brings in three pillars. Okay, either you can skip this also, but you have to write these three pillars when you are mentioning about Ramsar Convention. What are those three pillars? One is wise use of the wetland. Okay, first is wise use of wetland. At least you have to remember this much. You cannot write as such like a printer. You cannot print everything. So at least this you have to remember. Then you can just write, put a hyphen. What is meant by wise use? What is that? Wise use means nothing. It's nothing like a foreign word or something. That means sustainable usage of wetland. How do you sustainably use the wetland? That means conserving at the same time utilizing it. How we will do that? The maintaining the ecological character. You are trying to maintain character as such. You should not go and pollute it. You should not add something which will harm a wetland. No, that and all cannot be allowed. But at the same time, you can go fishing. No, these type of activities will be allowed. So the maintenance of the ecological character should be taken care. Okay, and in the context of sustainable development, you can see through the implementation of ecosystem approach within the context of sustainable development. So it should not harm the wetland. Whatever you're doing, it should not harm. That is called wise use of wetland. Okay, so that is the word will come under this wise use, conservation and sustainably using a wetland. Okay, and because people also should get benefit, at the same time nature also should get benefit. That is why this wise use term is there. Okay, for conserving as well as sustainably using. Second important pillar which this Ramsar Convention is standing is that, okay, fine, you are going to wise use the wetland. That is the first pillar which it is mentioning. Second pillar is saying that for wise using of wetland, what are you going to do? You are going to designate that particular wetland as a wetland of international importance. So then what will happen? It will enter into the Ramsar list. The particular concerned wetland will enter into Ramsar list. So that's why we are saying designating a suitable wetland for the list of wetlands international importance, and then you have to manage in the effective manner, because they are going to give you a guidelines. They are going to give you certain specific guidelines which you have to follow once when the site enters into Ramsar list. So that is the second pillar which you have to mention. So you can cut short. You need not write this full statement like this. First, you can write wise use, or you can draw a diagram like this. Okay, the three pillars of the, when you are mentioning in the question, you can just you can think a different way. Creative manner always is invited. Three pillars of convention. Then you can even put a triangle like this, the three pillars of the convention, or you can just put like this, like a flow chart. Put number one, number two, number three, or in a triangle, one, two, three, the three pillars you can mention in the middle. Then you can write wise use of wetland. Okay, sorry, wise use. Second, you can write designating the wetland, the designating wetland to list of, to Ramsar list, you can say. Ramsar list is otherwise called list of wetland international importance. So Ramsar list. Okay. Third, cooperating internationally. So you have to cooperate with other countries, okay, in order to protect the transboundary wetlands which is there. No, you take Sundarbans. So it's a transboundary wetland. So in that way, you are cooperating with the Bangladesh also in order to maintain the ecological character of Sundarbans, right? So that way we can say cooperating internationally on transboundary wetland. This third important pillar which this convention is supporting. Okay, so this much is enough. Instead of writing in this big three paragraphs, you have to cut short it, but you have to give the full information. That is the wise way of presenting your answers. So it will fetch more marks also. So you can just write one line, then you can write the three pillars of convention. In this way you can put a small diagram, explain everything there. That's it. Then come to the second, the first question itself has two parts. You can, first is what is Ramsar Convention. Second is what are called Ramsar sites. So you can just write like Ramsar sites in two sentence. It is enough to explain it. You know, when any country which joins this convention, when any country which is going to enter the convention, even India is a part of this convention. We all know that. So when they are going to join this convention, at the time of joining, they have to designate at least one wetland site from their country into the Ramsar list. That is list of wetlands of international importance. This is otherwise called as Ramsar list. Okay, so in that way only the list has been created. So any country which becomes a members of this convention will designate one wetland site as a Ramsar, as a wetlands of international importance based on some criteria. Okay, based on, there is some 9 criteria are there. So 9 criteria, you need not mention all the 9 criteria because there will be no space for the other questions to be attended to. But if it is asked as only this section is asked to you, what Ramsar list, what is meant by Ramsar list, then you have to brief it a bit. Okay, so based on 9 criteria we are adding this site, and need not, even in that case also, you need not write all the 9 criteria as such. So you can just write the first 3 criteria based on this, the next 3 criteria is based on this, and the last criteria like fish, okay, unique fishes or fish varieties which is present in, or AV fauna, like this you have to define the criteria, split the criteria, define it, that's it, not go in. And what you can say that how this Ramsar sites has been created, who are those parties who will visit a country. Okay, there is some contract parties. Okay, and the contract oriented, Ramsar convention is a contract, so contractual parties will visit here from the Ramsar, from the Ramsar convention. So they will be sending a party who will come, and then they will check whether that satisfies the particular criteria, the wetland is satisfying a particular criteria, then they will recommend to be added in the Ramsar list. That is a process. So you know how you would have read about it. So you can elaborate it a bit. If it is asked as a separate question, in this case it is asked as a small question, so you need not write that much elaborate manner. So you have to just give about the Ramsar sites only. So you can say that any country which enters into this enters into the treaty will designate a site as a Ramsar list based on the criterias. Okay, that's it. Then what are the, see this, come to the next question. Can you list out any 5 Ramsar sites from India? There are enormous Ramsar sites, we all know, almost 75 sites, maybe another few sites also would have got added. So, very fastly, last year, even we have added around 17 or 15 to 16 sites, I hope, at least 12 sites would have been added. So in that way, in the faster paces, we have added few sites also. So we can mention any sites because they have said list out any 5 sites only they are asking. So you can just take any sites. I have chosen these sites. You can choose any site from the list. I have written Sundarbans, West Bengal, like this. If they are asking you as a separate question, this is asked as a small part in the question. If they are asking as a separate question, sometimes they may ask like this: what is Ramsar convention? Can you list out any 5 Ramsar sites or any 3 Ramsar sites from India? Then simply you're defining the Ramsar convention and then you're writing only 3 sites name only. You will not get marks. So what you have to do, you have to wisely choose the wetland name. You have to give that wetland. Then you have to brief out a bit about that. For example, like Sundarbans, you are taking where it is located. It is the largest. I can say mangrove. Largest wetland also. Sundarbans is the largest, as well as the mangrove forest. Okay, so it's the largest mangrove forest. You can see it's located in the Sundarbans, and this is located in the confluence of Ganga Brahmaputra river. So in this way, different points you can add here. It will make the answer worth reading, as well as some unique organisms. Even the Royal Bengal tiger, which is present in the Sundarbans, has a unique hunting ability. Okay, to hunt in the aquatic mode. So this way you can write, and even also there are certain horseshoe crabs, hermit crabs, unique species are present, even fishes. Like that, you can mention a bit about the Sundarbans, Bengal. Then Gulf of Mannar Marine Biosphere Reserve, that also I have mentioned. So we all know it's in the tip, and based on that, you can write a few descriptions about Gulf of Mannar. Even some endangered species like dugongs can be noticed here, which graze on the sea grasses. So this way you can write, even this is the first marine biosphere reserve which has been designated from the South and South Asia. So this is the first marine biosphere reserve which has been designated. So in that way you can give certain points. Then Lonar Lake, we all know it's a very beautiful lake, Lonar Lake. So it's which is located in the Maharashtra. Okay, so we are saying this is a crater also. So in that way you can mention a few points related to Lonar Lake. Kolleru Lake, Andhra Pradesh also. It's a confluence of Krishna and Godavari. So that way, the river which is confluencing in the lake, or if it is not, it is an artificial one, you can mention that. Okay. Then Loktak Lake, a very beautiful lake of Manipur, and dancing lead Sangai is also found here. The floating Pumudis, which we call this call that as Pumudis, is found here. Okay, Pumdis is floating over this lake, although like a mat, like a grass of mat. And this lake is famous for the dancing deer called Sangai, which will jump from one Pumdi to another Pumdi, so it looks like dancing. Okay, over that. So it's a very beautiful lake, and you can mention that's in Manipur. So this is also a wetland site only. I have given only 5 sites here. You can write any site, whatever comes in your mind. And come to the next part. What is this Montreux record, which is mentioned in the list of wetlands of international importance? So Montreux record, if I want to mention about Montreux record, every time UPSC is attracted towards this Montreux record. If questions comes from wetland, if you go and analyze the question paper, you will definitely see this word in the preliminary part also, in the mains part also. So what is this called as Montreux record? If you know about Ramsar list, Ramsar sites, if you're discussing about Ramsar sites or Ramsar list, definitely will come across this PX record. That means it is like a register. And when you're going inside some companies to visit somebody, you're registering something. Same way, this is a register only where they are going to record those wetland sites, okay, which is listed in the Ramsar list. Which from the Ramsar list, those wetland sites where there is changes which is occurring in the ecological character. Already changes is occurring, or it would have occurred, okay, occurring now in the present it is happening, or past it happened, or in the future it might happen. So in this three angle, past, present, future, where if there is changes which is going to happen or which is going to change the character of the particular wetland, that is why we say that ecological character. Okay, the character of the particular wetland will be changed. Suppose the pink color lake changes to black because of certain pollution which is released, pollutant which is released inside. That is something we call as changes in ecological character, or it space, the area gets shrink. Okay, so this way there are certain criteria to check this, and they will say that okay, this is trying to change because of the human interferences which is happening in that particular area. Factories located, settlements are there, and they are trying to release the wastewater into the wetland. So these things will be checked and is maintained. This register is maintained as a part of Ramsar list only. Okay, so in the Ramsar list itself, those list undergoing changes in the ecological character or already changes occurred are going to occur, that will be listed in the Montreux record. And this was established based on the recommendation of the conference of parties, because this is a party, the conference of party will be there in every international convention. If you see, there is a body which will meet every year or 2 years once based on the convention. Okay, so they will come and then they will discuss important changes to be made in the convention, and they are called as conference of parties, decision making authority of the particular convention. So they they recommended in 1990 that Montreux record should be created, and extra care should be given for those sites, right? So when a we'll remove that from the Montreux record. This way they brought the Montreux record. And in India, if you take, there is two sites which has been added in the Montreux record now at present. One is Loktak Lake, another one is Kalidio Ghana National Park of Rajasthan. Also you can know, you can also additionally write it. Okay, so when you are writing about the Montreux record, you can write India as of now. The Loktak Lake and the Kalidio Ghana National Park of Rajasthan is remaining in the Montreux record. So we are trying to improve. They are saying that Loktak Lake will disappear. As I said, the very beautiful floating Pumdis lake, and the fisher folks construct house over the Pumdis also, and the deers also jumping from one Pumdi to other. The Pumdis are just getting submerged, something they're saying like that. So lake will disappear very soon. This is like that. they are giving certain data. So they are saying that we have to protect the lake, right? So it is also added Mantex record along with the Kaludio National Park of Rajasthan. Now come to the third question. So second question over, we have crossed that wetland general questions. Now see this particular plan or program. It's in the year-wise classification, it's very important. We expected the preliminary part. It did not happen there. So in the mains, we can also expect some are asking the programs or schemes like this. They are asking to discuss the features, the saline features of that particular programs or schemes or regulations. So you have to be ready that. So in that case, see this question: what National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystem (NPCA) discuss about the objectives. So first we are asking what is, and then discuss about the objectives of NPCA. Okay, the role which it is going to perform. So in that case, how will you start this question? So first you have to start this NPCA came into play. Long back around 1986 itself. The program which was introduced by the Ministry of Environment Forest. There is a mistake. That's it. You can cancel this. Climate change. It's a centrally sponsored scheme we introduced. That is Wetland Conservation Program was introduced around 1986, very long back. So we call this as NWCP, that is National Wetland Conservation Program, was mainly to protect the wetland, mainly to safeguard the wetland. We introduced this program, NWCP. Okay, then later in around 2001, another program was also introduced. By the ministry, that is National Lake Conservation Program. Okay, so this was in 2001, especially to address pollution problems which is happening in the lakes. Okay, so what happened, some parts of lakes also added into wetland. We all know that, because I told wetland can also include rivers and all, so the lakes also can be added into the wetland. So they said, why we have to have two programs in order to manage the same body, water bodies are in it, right? They merged this two. They brought it under one program, and program only is called as National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystem. This merging took place around 2013. So this year it's a 10th year. So that's why we are expecting that there might be a question related to this. Might be. Okay, so we cannot plan because we are not the one we are to question, or we are just thinking from every perspective. Okay, suppose if it comes, and then we cannot, we should not miss it. So we are thinking that perspective. Around 2013, they tried to merge this two program, that is NCP, and the NLCP was merged, and they launched into a one program called as the National Plan for National Plan for Conservation of Aquatic Ecosystem, based on the recommendations of CCA. Okay, and this NPCA was born, right? So again, as a sponsor scheme. And now the second part of the question asks you to discuss about the objectives of the NPCA, the main functions which NPCA is going to perform. In that case, you can directly read all these objectives which would have definitely known from the site also. You can take from the site also. So you have to give a very straightforward answer only. There is nothing to hide. But shortly I can discuss about these objectives to you. First, the main objective of this program is to, like how we have an international convention, this program aims for a holistic conservations of conservation and restorations of wetlands, lakes as well as wetlands, because this is a wholesome program now. So conservation and restoration of lakes and wetlands, especially to achieve, first point you can give this much is enough, that is conserving and restoring a wetland, lakes as well as a wetland. Okay, so why you are conserving? To improve water quality, this, that, everything is given in this, but conservation is the first point. Second important objective of this NPCA is that reducing the pollution. Okay, how you can avoid the pollution, how you can reduce the pollution. and in that way you are trying to improve the biodiversity. Okay, so this should be the second point. So reduction of pollution loads is second point. Third point is that development of a national inventory. Development of national inventory is the third point. What is called national inventory? What type of data you are going to record? Mainly the data is related to the wetland. How well you are going to manage the wetland, is in which status. Okay, so whether it has been properly managed, whether the people has been properly built capacities to manage this. Okay, so this way every data will be maintained for the in the name of national inventories. That is the third objective of the NPCA program. Then fourth one is strengthening the implementation of international commitments related to the wetlands, like trying to aid in the implementation of the Ramsar Convention. So it's an international commitment only. So in that way, it will help for that also. That will be the fourth important task. Fifth, it includes various activities. This, like you can see, interception, diversion, treating wastewater, shore protections, lakefront development. In situ cleaning means you are going inside the wetland, desilting it, de-weeding it, that is removing the mud which has been accumulated for longer period. De-weeding is like weeds which occupies the wetland. It will also deteriorate its quality. So you have to desilt and de-weed. So these are very important activities along with the protect wetland, and treating the wastewater before you're releasing into the wetland. Okay, then stormwater management, bioremediation techniques you are using. All this you can read. So involving community also, community participation. So these are some of the objectives of NPCA. So you need not think too much and then you write in that. Very straightforward. The 5 objectives which you have to keep in mind, as that's why I marked as a 5-point for you. First, conserving it. Second, you are trying to reduce the pollutions which is harming the wetland. So pollution load is reduced. In that way, biodiversity is enhanced. Third, you're trying to develop a national inventory. Okay, inventory has to be developed. International commitment. Fourth is international commitment. Okay, how you're helping in international commitment. Fifth is all the activity which has to be taken care of in order to protect a wetland. Okay, in that way you have to keep in mind. Apart from writing the objectives of the NPCA, we are going to see how this is implemented, how this NPCA is functioning. There is 4-pronged approach this NPCA takes care of. What is that 4-pronged approach? First, what they will do, they will prepare brief documents about the wetland. Then they will fill in the ecosystem health card. Like how we have soil health card, also have ecosystem health card in under this program. So what they will do, they will go visit a wetland. First documents are prepared. Now they will visit the wetland. They will check the wetland, how the wetland is, whether the wetland is healthy or not. Based on 4 categories, they will analyze the health of a wetland. The area where it is present, whether the area has shrinked or it is same. It can also even grow. Okay, so but not shrink. So our hydrology, what is the quality of water which is present in the wetland, whether it is polluted or not. This way they are checking everything, even the biodiversity which is present inside the wetland, and how well it is governed. Okay, all this will give data for filling in the health card. Then they will allot wetland mitras. Wetland mitras means wetland friends of wetland. The people who belong to that particular area will be assigned a job to take care of the management of wetlands, so calling them as wetland mitras. Okay, then you're formulating a plan, management plan, based on the health of the wetland and the threats which is faced by the wetland. Suppose that wetland is facing a lot of threats, then you will be preparing a separate management plan to tackle threat. Okay, so what are the threats it is facing, how to solve that problem. So all this will be formulated. So this way, this is a very unique approach which has been taken care by the program, that is NPCA program, because they are going visiting the site, then preparing a plan. Okay, so not a uniform plan which is applied for all the wetland throughout the country. So they will be visiting, they will prepare a document, they will go, they will fill the health card, they will analyze what is the problem with respect to this wetland. Then they will try to bring in a plan, integrated management plans to uh, you know tackle the issue which is faced by the wetland. So that's it. So this is enough to write for the question if they are asking about NPCA. Suppose they are just simply asking, discuss about there is a national plan for conservation of aquatic ecosystem. You have to write in the same manner only. You can say that this is a program which has been introduced in this year by merging two programs, and then you can start writing the objectives and the approaches which is followed by the PCA. That's it, right? Now come to the next question. What are coral reefs? Where are these corals found in India? What is coral bleaching? And what are the reasons for it to happen? Okay. So although if they are not asking this, why I have framed this first part is that so far they have asked what are called as wetlands, what are called as Ramsar sites. This types of questions has appeared. So they have not touched the other aquatic ecosystem so far. So anytime there is a possibility of asking what are called coral reefs, and along with that, it's always good that you know that where and all this coral reefs is found in India, because they're not found in many areas. If you take a wetland is found everywhere, but coral reef is not like that. It is found only in certain places in India. So that this has been added as a secondary question, and this already one time they were asked in a different manner in the UPSC. So there is a possibility of asking coral bleaching also, because already last year lot of events has been reported from the Great Barrier Reef also. Repeated coral bleaching events took place. Okay? So that's why we have added this in the question. So for this question, how would you start an answer? So you have to first start with what is meant by coral reef. Like what is called coral reef? Coral reef is not a name of an animal or something. Reef itself means it's a structure, okay, which is constructed by this animal called coral. They are not called coral, they are called polyps. Okay, polyps are an animal. They belong to a Cnidaria groups, Cnidarians. You would have definitely studied about this and all. Already, I also have discussed in one of my videos. Separate video I have made for coral reef. So they are animal which lives in the water. They construct a structure, that is the exoskeleton. When an animal die, the polyp die, it will leave its exoskeleton. Okay, it will get built like a tower, some structure. So it's a engineering marvelous. They are saying that. So this coral reef gets accumulated one after the other, one after the other. Even new polyps will there, but old polyps shells will left there. Okay, so it is like a structure which is constructed under the water. So you can say that coral reefs are underwater structures which has been constructed by a Cnidarian group of animals called polyps. So this polyp which construct a reef by extracting the calcium carbonate. Okay, how they construct the reef? They extracting calcium carbonate from the ocean water and they construct the reef. Okay, so those polyps which construct the reef are called as hermatypic corals, or they are called hard corals. We call them as hard. So because they construct, they leave the exoskeleton or they have exoskeleton, so we call them as hard corals. The other category is called soft corals. So the soft means it will be like a tree, like a leaf wavering on the wind. You see under the water, they will be like the shaking. So they are soft corals. Soft corals are also existing. Hard corals are also existing. So you can say that corals are underwater structures constructed by an animal called polyp, which belongs to a Cnidarian group. And they construct this reef by extracting calcium carbonate from the water. And for this reason, they are called as hard corals. This much is enough. And suppose if you want to extend two more lines, you can say that most of these corals, that is most of these polyps, you can say like polyps, enter into symbiotic association. We call this a symbiotic association. No, we have done a separate classes for that also. I hope you would have watched it. Symbiotic association. Okay, or mutualism. We call this as a mutualism. Interaction type. So it forms a symbiotic association with an algae called zooxanthellae. So this name also would have heard, zooxanthellae. And what they do, polyp and zooxanthellae enters into agreement. Zooxanthellae will live inside the polyp. the exoskeleton is there, no? So inside the zooxanthellae will live. So polyps give place, home for them, home. Okay, you need not pay any rent, you can come and live. But what you have to do, you have to, because it is an algae, so it prepares the food. It can photosynthesize. So this prepares the food. Exchange the food which it prepared with the polyp. Polyp will provide space for them to live and also gives the excretory substances. What and all it excretes. Okay. So carbon dioxide, so all this are used by zooxanthellae while preparing the food. And the zooxanthellae, apart from giving food, they also give color to the polyp. So there only this starts the next question answer also, coral bleaching. Okay, so zooxanthellae gives food and the color. So we can use this space like this way. You can even draw a diagram and use it. Zooxanthellae and the polyp live in association. This we call as symbiotic association. Even you can represent like this. You need not write. Okay, so the polyp. Here, the zooxanthellae will give. So you have to write here, giving to polyp food and color. You would have seen red colors, green colors. Now the polyp will give house, that is habitat. You need not even mention house. You can mention habitat plus the excretory substances like carbon dioxide, okay, nitrogens, like something it is supplied by the polyp to the zooxanthellae. So this way you can finish the first part. So we have asked what are called coral reefs. Now come to the second part. Very straightforward. They are asking where are these corals found in India. The four major locations where you can find corals is area wise I have mentioned based on the square kilometer also, the largest reef. You can find in Andaman and Nicobar, then you can also find in Lakshadweep Island. So the two important area where you can find coral reef in abundance is this two area only. Andaman and Nicobar and Lakshadweep. In Andaman and Nicobar, you will find a barrier kind of reef. We already defined the types of reefs also. Lakshadweep will find a atoll kind of reef. A lot of atolls is present in Lakshadweep. So these two are major destinations for coral reef. Other than that, the two Gulf of Kutch as well as Gulf of Mannar. In both places, you can observe reefs. Okay. Other than that, we also can find near Mumbai. Okay, there are small patch reefs you can find there. But major reef is located in four destinations in India, starting from Andaman and Nicobar, Lakshadweep, Gulf of Kutch, and Gulf of Mannar. Come to the next question: what is coral bleaching, and what are the reasons for it to happen? So in that case, you can say coral bleaching mainly occurs because of climate change. What happens? The climate change, global warming takes place. When global warming occurs, when the earth warms in an alarming rate when the earth gets warmed. The sea also absorbs the heat. Apart from that, the sea also gets warmed up. Sea gets warmed up. Apart from the melting glaciers, sea also gets warmed and the surface temperature of the sea also raises. So when the sea temperature raises, we already have known that the coral reefs require a specific kind of specific living conditions. They cannot thrive everywhere. Okay, so they will be located mainly in the tropical waters. Even you can find in cold areas, but main tropical waters, as well as require less sedimentation area. And temperatures also should be around like 23 degree to 29 degree mostly. Other than this, it will not be found anywhere. So if you see, even the cold, I told you, even in the coldest part you can, but most of them are located here only, the reef building corals and all. So when you find these kind of conditions, they only live in this kind of condition. Now sea surface temperature starts increasing. When it starts increasing, the coral reef will find stressed, pressurized, because so far it is living in 23 degrees Celsius, let us consider, or around 24, 25 degrees Celsius, it is living in that area. suddenly now 1 degree temperature or 0.5 degree temperature raises. It's very sensitive organism. So it is not able to tolerate or adapt to the changing temperature in that particular area, the surface. So what happens in the pressure, when it gets pressured, it will expel the algae which is present in its body. And we all know that the polyps cannot produce food. They have to depend on other organisms for food. When they expel this organism from the body, they become colorless. That is what we call as bleaching. And so when we bleach something, what happens? It becomes white. Bleaching, we say no. We bleaching in the bleach. We bleach the floors of the houses also. So it becomes white. So that way the coral will lose all its color because it expelled the algae outside. It will lose the color and becomes white in color, and now it will die after few days because there is no food for them to eat. There is nobody to prepare the food. Everybody is out. How it will eat? So it dies. Eventually it will die. So that way only you have to explain that coral bleaching event. And then you can say not only the raising sea surface temperature, even pollution is also causing stress to the coral reef. We all know that sedimentation, if that is filled with sediments and a lot of plastics and other pollution, when it accumulates near the coral reef, coral cannot survive there. It will choke death. Okay, so it cannot prepare the food. No, so completely it will block the sunlight also. So too much sunlight also is dangerous for the reef. So changing climate is the major problem which makes the reef to bleach. Okay, so this is something called as coral bleaching. This way you have to explain the question, and the question is very simple question only, right? So we have completed the ecosystem part completely. Ecosystem is over. Now we'll move to the next part, that is biodiversity, second part. Maybe this is the third one also, because we have already split this into 5 parts. That first 2 parts I have included in the first answer writing session itself. Second part now we are doing with the leftover part of the first part, and now the biodiversity, which has to be taken in the third, as a third part has been used here in the second session, right? So based on that, we will see what are the questions we can expect. In that first question, we can see how do we conserve biodiversity? Okay, how UN Convention on Biological Diversity and its 2 protocols, the Cartagena and Nagoya, helps in conserving biodiversity. So even one time when they asked a question from the biodiversity part, they asked that biodiversity is varying in our country, so how it varies. That way they were asking to write that the variation in the biodiversity, starting from the tropical to the temperate, varies, altitude wise, latitude wise. That was on the question, and then they asked about certain conventions or protocols or programs to conserve biodiversity. That way the question was framed. So this question framed in that pattern only, how we can conserve a biodiversity. In that case, how will we answer this question? We all know that there are 2 types of conservation. One is in situ, another one is ex situ. Okay, one is in situ conservation, another is ex situ conservation. This is the basic way to explain this question. How we conserve the biodiversity? We are going to conserve based on 2 ways. One is in situ, another is ex situ. In situ means we go to the particular location. We are finding a particular organisms or animal in that location. Then we will try to announce that area as a, national park, wildlife area, something like that, biosphere reserves or something. And then we try to protect them from that place only. We will not take them outside. We will just give protection to them from where they belong. Okay, that is something called in situ conservation. But ex situ means we cannot put them in the same place. They are facing a lot of threats, pressure in that area. So we have to take them outside. At least the lower organisms has to be protected. So taking them outside, we are placing them in zoological parks, or the botanical gardens, and then we are trying to safeguard the species. That is something called as ex situ conservation. Okay, even some animals which lives in the wild is now and then taken to the zoo, okay, zoological park, and then there protected. There they are the breeding takes place, and then they release them into the wild. Okay, so that's something which they feel that this animal is not noticed in the wild, so there is a threat of extinction might happen. So when we find a species, we are taking them to the control under the ex situ conservation, then releasing them back. So this is something which we conserve the biodiversity. So if a question is asked like this, how do we conserve biodiversity? It can be conserved in two ways. One is in situ, another is ex situ, and then you have to give an answer like this. The second question is very straightforward question about the protection mechanisms of the UN Convention on Biological Diversity. That is something called a CBD. We would have already crossed this convention several times. CBD convention. Okay, so this convention is mainly based on, was adopted during the Earth Summit 1992. And this convention is mainly there to conserve the biodiversity. This convention was brought to conserve the biodiversity. Okay, so how you will conserve the biodiversity? That is based on the Cartagena and the Nagoya, which was again made as a supplementary protocols under this convention. That also we discuss. But first we should know what is that convention about. What is CBD? It is again it's an intergovernmental treaty only. So you can say that it's an international legal instrument mainly there to conserve the biological diversity. Not only conserve, like how we talked about wetland, here apart from conservation, sustainable use of its components. And third is fair and equitable sharing of the benefits arising out of the utilization of the genetic resources. So three I's are there. The three main pillars of this convention is that one is to conserve, okay. Second is to sustainably use the genetic resources, components of the biodiversity. Third is the fair and equitable sharing of the benefits which arises from this convention. Arises from the utilization of the genetic resources. Okay, so this way, see that these are the three main aim for which this convention has been brought. Now the goals they have taken and written here. You would have seen this. That's what which is written there also. The conservation is the first. Second is sustainably using, okay, the components of the biodiversity. Third is sharing, benefit sharing the benefits arising out of usage of this components, right? So this way, for that purpose only we brought convention, the CBD convention. Okay, they have not only asked about the convention, also asking about the supplementary protocols which forms a part of this convention, right? In that case, you have to touch that those two protocols also here. This much is enough related to the convention. You can also say India is a party to this convention. So this convention, which has proposed during the Earth Summit, is one of the basic conventions, along with the two other conventions. Some convention also we can say. CBD is a mother convention only. So this convention mainly aims to protect and conserve the biodiversity, and at the same sustainably use their resources and share the benefits with the benefits which arises due to the usage. This you have to keep in mind. This much is enough to write. No need to write very elaborate about the action. Now we can go to the Cartagena Protocol. What is saying? What this Cartagena Protocol is formed below the under the convention. Okay, so you can explain like that. You can say that this protocol is there for biosafety to the Convention on Biological Diversity. For that only we have brought this biosafety. For that only we brought Cartagena. So why this has come, then you can explain it in 3-4 sentence or points. So it's again an international treaty only. For what purpose we brought this? To govern the movements of living modified organisms. This is important. You have to remember like that. So car, living things. Okay? We move, the living things, that is living animals, living organisms move using car. So car is there to mainly govern the movement of the living modified organisms. This way you have to remember. So Cartagena, car means LMO, living modified organism. You can mention, think like that. So mainly for take care of that. In order to manage that, we brought this. How this living modified organisms will come? mainly because of the biotechnology, which we are doing research using organisms. For that purpose, from the lab, they may get out. So they may travel to different places. They may affect the ecosystem there. So in order to safeguard the particular ecosystem, we brought this Cartagena protocol. It may become a threat to the natural organisms which is present in the particular places. So for that purpose only, we have brought this Cartagena protocol. Okay, so this was adopted around 2000 and entered into force in 2003, right? So here, if you see, this protocol mainly seeks to protect the biological diversity. This is, I told in the particular places, when this living modified organisms are released out and they enter into a place, they will affect the biodiversity of the particular places. So in order to protect the biodiversity only, we brought this protocol. So first thing which you have to keep in is to protect the biological diversity from the risk posed by the LMOs, right? This and all, blah blah blah, dot dot dot. But what you have to remember, protecting the biological diversity. Second thing which we can remember is, it establishes, in order to protect the biological diversity, it establishes a biosafety clearing house. Okay, so it will bring into house like biosafety clearing house. It is establishing a separate house to facilitate the movement of the to facilitate the exchange of informations related to that LMOs. Suppose a country is trying to transfer a LMO from one place to another, then it has to provide the information. How harmful this is, what are the things which might happen if this gets out. This way, every information has to be shared. For that only, we are establishing this clearinghouse. And also this informed agreement which we have to, that is advanced informed agreement is there, AIA. Apart from establishing a clearing house, biosafety clearing house, it also, this protocol also establishes advanced informed agreement, AIA procedure, which has to be followed for ensuring that the country are provided with information necessary to make informed decision before agreeing to the import of such organisms into territory. So if you want to write in a simple form, you cannot write in this much big paragraphs. What you can say, this Cartagena protocol is mainly that to take care of the biosafety under the CBD convention. So it's an international treaty. It is trying to govern the movement of the LMO, that is living modified organisms. Okay, because movement of the LMOs, which is resultant, or which is resulting from the biotechnology. Okay, modern biotechnologies is bringing this. And then you can say, you can put the main three purpose which has been taken care by this protocol is that, first thing, how it takes care of this, how it takes to how it tries to safeguard or bring biosafety. First the main aim of it, we are writing protecting biological diversity, protect biological diversity. Second, for this purpose, it is establishing biosafety clearing house. Okay, it is establishing biosafety clearing house is established, right? This biosafety clearing house will check whether this LMO's information is properly shared between countries which is trying to transfer this. Third is that AIA agreement, Advanced Information Agreement, AIA. This is a procedure, okay, for ensuring that whether the countries will provide a necessary information, has already provided necessary information, okay, related to these protocols. Exchange of information has been done or not. So this is the three important point when you are trying to write about Cartagena protocol, you have to mention. Either in the diagrammatic format or in a sentence format you can write. Then come to Nagoya protocol. So what is Nagoya protocol about? This Nagoya protocol is mainly talking about the access to genetic resources. Access to genetic resources and the fair and equitable sharing of benefit arising from their utilization. This we call as ABS. Access and benefit sharing. In short form, we can say that access and benefit sharing. That is why this is called as ABS. There's something called as Nagoya. So Nagoya says that, okay, you can access this genetic resource, When you go to a particular places, first you have to get access to the genetic resources which is present there. So you are giving access. Then when you access the material or resources which is present in the particular area, then how well you are going to share the bit with the others who host that resource, where that area where the resource belongs to, how we are going to share the utilization which you get. So that is access and benefit sharing and the convention. Okay, so it provides a transparent legal framework for the effective implementation of the mainly the three objectives which we talked about in the CBD. That fair and benefit sharing is one important objective that was taken care of by this Nagoya Protocol. Okay, so it applies to the genetic resources that are covered by the CBD and to the benefits arising from the utilization. It also covers traditional knowledge because we are accessing to the genetic resources is taking place. So it covers the traditional knowledge also and benefit sharing also by accessing that resources, whether we are trying to share the benefit with all, right? So this is taken care by the Nagoya Protocol. This way you have to complete your answer when this question is asked. So because they are asking that specifically mentioning about even Convention on Biological Diversity along with the two protocols. Even if they are asking about Convention on Biological Diversity also, we have to write about Convention on Biological Diversity. Then we have to touch Cartagena Protocol. We have to write in a small paragraph, and then Nagoya Protocol also. Okay, because they are part of this convention only, right? Then come to the next question. See this. What are the roles performed by Zoological Survey of India? What is the relation between zoological, that is ZSI, Zoological Survey of India, and Biodiversity Convention? So the CBD, which we discussed just now, how it is related to ZSI? Is there any relation? One time they were asking a question like this also, where they connected that Convention of Biological Diversity, CBD convention to another plant genetic material convention. So is there any similarities? How they are connected? Is there any relation between these two? Okay, so the same way this question was asked. The roles performed by ZSI as well as the relation between ZSI and the Biodiversity Convention. Right? Now we can see the roles performed by ZSI. First thing. What are the roles which are performed by ZSI? See, there are two objectives of ZSI. One is primary, second is secondary. First, you can mention about the primary objectives. The main objective of the Zoological Survey of India is to explore, survey, maintain the inventory, monitor of the faunal diversity, means the animals diversity which is present in the country in various ecosystems, protected areas. So they are the one who will go and explore. They will find what are the different type of animals which are present by any biodiversity, different kind of biodiversity discovered in the particular areas. They will conduct surveys. They will maintain an inventory. They will also monitor everything. Okay, so this is the main function of that. The primary function of ZSA is that only. Apart from that, they will also do taxonomic studies of all the animals. Okay, so they will do taxonomical studies plus the ecological studies. Then periodic review of status of threatened and endemic species. Okay, preparation of the red data book, faunas of India, fauna of states and public. Okay, so apart from the IUCN, ZSI also releases its red data book. That they will give the state will review the status of the animals which is considered threatened, and especially the endemic species of the particular area will be reviewed. So this way you can see that these are the primary objectives which are taken care by ZSI. So the first important function is mainly exploring that area, finding out if there is any new species which is present, and the inventory is made and monitoring that also. Second is that this also you can, at least you can leave, but this you should not leave. This is the main objective. Second main objective is preparation of a red data book, that is collecting information and reviewing it and publishing the status of threatened and endemic species. These two are very, very important. That has to be mentioned. That's the primary objective of ZSI also. Apart from that, they also do databases, recorded species in the country, preparing a database about it. Maintenance and development of national zoological collections will be done by them only. Okay, development of national zoological collections. Even training, capacity building, and human resource development will also takes place. Okay, they will give training to the people, and faunal identification, library service, advisory services, and all primary objective. But at the same time, the main objective is that too, that which you have to mention in the exam when it is asked. One is preparing, identifying the faunal species, which is there. The collecting the information, inventory, maintenance, everything which is done by them. Second important function is to prepare the red data book, okay, about the threatened and the endemic species of the country. Third important thing is that capacity building and human resource development, which will take place. Okay. Then the secondary, these are secondary objectives of the convention. These are secondary objectives. As you can see, apart from the primary objective, primary duty, they will also do environmental impact studies, museums, maintenance and development of museums, development of envis and site centers, okay, research fellowship, associate, okay, science programs, collaborative research programs on biodiversity, remote sensing studies for animal diversity. These are chromosomal mapping, DNA, this and all secondary objective. But when you are, then they're asking about to write about the primary objectives or roles performed by ZSI, then you have to definitely write about the primary role which is performed by ZSI. Okay. Now come to the second part of the question. We have written about the roles performed by ZSI, right? Now come to the second part. It's asking that what is the relation between ZSI and the Biodiversity Convention. So how they are related? ZSI is a body which is trying to play certain roles. How this is connected to Biodiversity Convention, that only we are going to see in the second part of the question. So I can say that there is a link between the Biodiversity Convention as well as the ZSI. How? As we can see that certain articles in the conventions, how is related to the ZSI. So there is an article called 7 in the convention which is talking about identification of the species and monitoring them. So this both the functions has been done. As you can see, the faunal identification is done by ZSI only. So you can come back. We can say that the the species identification of species is done through ZSI by conducting surveys in different parts of the country. Okay, so they're conducting surveys, and then they are collecting the specimens, they're identifying it, then they are doing studies and research on that. So identification and monitoring, which is mentioned under Biodiversity Convention, is conducted by ZSI only. With the help of ZSI only, the elaborate study in the particular area is done by surveying that area. Then there is an article called 8 which is talking about in situ conservation in the particular area. In situ conservation, ZSI also provides informations and vital data for this in situ conservation. Without the data you cannot do in situ conservation. How will you know that that particular animal is present in the particular area? How we will come to know? Only when we have data and information. So that is provided by ZSI. So which various species which is present in the different ecosystems, and then we are going to in situ conservation. So in this way ZSI is connected. Come to article 10 of the convention, which is talking about sustainable use of biological diversity. Okay, just talking about the sustainable use of biological diversity and how it is connected to ZSI. ZSI has been providing services, okay, related to the trading also of the fauna, of the animal parts, okay, trading and the derivatives which are derived from that. So that way it is trying to monitor how it is going to impact on the particular animal community, whether it is going to affect their population, okay, whether this will exploit the species completely. So this way they are completely doing all the analysis. Okay, both the terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems will be taken care by the ZSI. So they are giving importance to sustainable use of biological diversity, because they are trying to manage and check whether this trading taking place in the permissible limit only, or whether it is over exploiting the particular animals. Okay, or even it is underutilized or something like that. They are checking everything, and in that way they are giving a warning also. If suppose some species is commercially exploited, they're giving warning that this species is going to be threatened or extinct. And we also know they are preparing red data book. So in this way, the sustainable use of the biodiversity happen, which is mentioned under the CBD, is taken care by ZSI. And even Article 14, which is talking about environmental impact assessment. And we all know that ZSI is undertaking environmental impact studies. Okay, so this way we can say that impact assessment, okay, is taken care by ZSI, which is mentioned on the convention. So these are some of the roles which are performed by ZSI, which satisfy certain conventions under the biological diversity. So that's the question is demanding, right? What is the relation between ZSI and the biodiversity convention? So we have given an answer for it like that, right? So we have given the roles performed by ZSI also and the relation between ZSI and the convention. That's it. Now we'll come to the next question. What is meant by IUCN red list and green list by IUCN? Elaborate about two species from India which has been placed under endangered category and conservation measures undertaken by the government of India to safeguard those species. There are two parts in the question. One is very straightforward question only. We can easily answer this if you know about it. So they are asking what is meant by the red list and the green list, which is released by IUCN, right? So you can write it directly. So IUCN red list means what? IUCN was established longer back, 1948, but the red list came around 1964. It was established, and it's otherwise called as IUCN's Red List of Threatened Species. Full form we'll call like this: IUCN's Red List of Threatened Species. Okay, so this is nothing but they're providing information related to the danger faced by the particular species, whether they are in the extinction category or whether they are in the status of threatened or critically endangered or endangered. In this way, there are certain 7 categories now, which is coming under the IUCN red list. So this is not only taking animals, but also plant and fungal species. That only you have to mention when you are mentioning about red list. So here all the kind of animal species, plant species and fungal species are included in the red list when they're preparing a list. When they're trying to say that, okay, these are the endangered categories of the particular area, they are preparing it for the animal, fungal as well as plant species. This you have to mention. Okay, so mainly why we are doing it, it helps to help us recognize that okay, this animal is threatened completely. Now it is a need that we have to safeguard them, we have to recover them, we have to bring back them. Okay, so we are trying to focus more on the conservation. Okay, as well how then if there is some threat, what are threats this animal is facing, why it is disappearing from the environment? Maybe due to humans interference, because they lose their habitat. Some animals lose their habitat and they cannot live further habitat place where they live, or they lose the animal, the prey which they eat. Okay, so what they eat, they don't have that. So we have to take care of the particular things in order to conserve this animal, right? And so we are focusing in every angle, and then we are trying to rectify the problem and trying to improve the species number. So that's for this IUCN red list is helping us in that way only. So it's an indicator, okay, of the health of the particular organism which is present in the particular area. Through that, we are studying what has happened to this animal. It is declining. What is the reason for declining? How we can rectify that? We can frame some certain strategies. So that is meant by IUCN red list. Now come to green list. We all know about red list, but there is something called as green list also, which is given by IUCN. So what is this? What is about this? It's talking about the protected and the conserved areas. Okay, so in such a way I can say that mainly this list of green, which is called as green list, is something which is talking about the protected and the conserved areas, which is which belongs to a particular area. Okay, the protected and the conserved area of the particular. So now when we are talking, that means what? Green status of the species will begin, green list also of the species. So generally green list is talking about the green list of protected and the conserved areas where the area is completely under protection. Okay, whether we are properly managing that area, whether proper planning has been done, whether proper design has been done and that area has been under protection. That way we are analyzing, we are then putting that under a list. And the animals which belong, the species which belongs from that area will be placed on the green list of species. So what are the categories, how we will put them under the green list category, how we will give a green status to them? That means, what is the meaning? If we are giving green status, the species has been fully recovered. You can see this is important with related to green list. Species is fully recovered if it is if it is present in all parts. Sorry, if it is present in all parts of its range. You know, previously entire Himalayas you will find a particular plant or an animal. Later, due to some problem, some fragmentation issues or some invasive alien species might have damaged the indigenous variety or indigenous animal or indigenous plant. So now what happened? They are present in one limited space, only limited area you can see. Like red panda also we discussed later. Previously itself we discussed the red panda which previously belonged to the Himalayan, eastern Himalayas. Now they are found in only a few areas. Near Arunachal Pradesh you can find them, and in the Bangladesh also. But previously they were extant throughout the eastern Himalayas completely. So this that's why they are saying a species which has previously which is present in particular ranges. It is called its ranges, has to be present completely in its range. Okay, so now it has to become widened. We already it has been shrinked no to one particular place. Now it has to widen. So even the areas, even it can occupy the areas which was not longer previously occupied by them. Okay, so if then we can that is one condition we can say, then it is viable, okay, in all parts of the range. That is, it should not be in the threatened category, but it should be in the viable category, and it's performing its ecological function in all parts of the range. So it should not only be present, it should perform the role it does. Okay, suppose if there is a monkey, okay, the monkey eats fruits, so it eats fruits, it disperses seeds, it's a ecological role performed by it. Apart from that, it also performs various other functions. So this way, so it should be present in the entire range from where it previously present, and it should be in the viable population, and it should also perform its ecological role. So this three, if you notice, then you can give the green status. You're assessing the green status based on this three category only. Then you can give a green score for that animals ranging from 100, 0 to 100 you can place them. And suppose some will get 100%. That means fully recovered. Okay, so this way you can place them in the categories. That's green list. Then elaborate about two species from India which has been placed under the endangered category and conservation measures taken by the government to safeguard. You can choose any two species. I have put here tiger, and another one is as elephant. And I have given us few schemes related to tiger. As we all know about the Project Tiger, so I have mentioned about Project Tiger. Project Tiger, which was launched in 1973, as we all that, then it was gained statutory status also through NTC, National Tiger Conservation Authority, around 2006. So this way, now we have tiger reserves throughout the country, and this. So that is mentioned here. Through the Wildlife Protection Act, we have managed to make it as a statutory authority, Project Tiger itself. Okay, then apart from that, not only Project Tiger, to conserve the tiger only, we brought the Project Tiger. Along with that, International Tiger Day has been announced. Okay, every July 29, we are celebrating International Tiger Day to raise the awareness about the tiger conservation. So this way, and a few more programs are also there related to tiger. but I have mentioned only these two. Then the same way, Project Elephant. You can mention any program. Hathi Mere Saathi is there. Project Elephant is there. 1992, which was launched by in order to protect the elephant and its corridors. Okay, where and the because it moved from one place to another, migration corridors. So that way, we are trying to bring Project Elephant and even the elephant reserves. You can talk about that also. Mic programs, okay, monitoring of illegal killing of elephants. So this you can elaborate. Even the Gaj Gaurav Award recently has been launched. Plan B, we call this as Plan B. Like enormous programs has been launched to protect the elephants, because elephants are killed in the railway tracks. So to deviate them from the crossing the railway track, we put a B sound, and when they try to cross, the string pulls the you know the sound and comes out, and the elephant move away from it. So this way we are planning different programs. So you can just take any two species, discuss few programs, like not everything, one or two program related to one species, and then you can complete this question. So this way we have completed almost 7 questions in this today's class. So biodiversity is almost over. Another few part is remaining. From that we can take questions, and then we'll move to the next section. So thank you all. Have a good night. We'll meet again.